A little politics.
Yeah,
the vice presidential debate, Joe Biden and Paul Ryan, Joe Biden's friend, walked in looking like they were ready for a showdown.
They were, and they delivered, sparring over everything from Libya to the economy to Medicare to abortion. And with just 25 days left until the election, the question is, did either one manage to sway those all-important undecided voters? ABC's Karen Travers is in Danville, Kentucky, with more on the big Veep stakes. Good morning to Karen.
Good morning, Rob. Good morning, Paula. They certainly got to a wide range of topics in last night's debate, and that was in just 90 minutes. Both Vice President Biden and Congressman Paul Ryan came ready for battle, and they effectively made their arguments. But this is no surprise to you guys there at home. Here in Kentucky, both sides are claiming victory. Both Vice President Biden and Congressman Paul Ryan aggressively challenged the other ticket's positions. It began on foreign policy and last month's attack on the American consulate in Libya. Ryan slammed the administration for a slow response.
It took the president 2 weeks to acknowledge that this was a terrorist attack.
With all due respect, that's a bunch of malarkey.
Ryan said the Obama administration has allowed Iran to get closer to obtaining a nuclear weapon.
It's because this administration has no credibility on this issue.
These are the most crippling sanctions in the history of sanctions.
President Obama was criticized for being too passive in last week's debate. Vice President Biden seemed determined not to make that same mistake.
But it shouldn't be surprising for a guy who says 47% of the American people are unwilling to take responsibility for their own lives. They pay more effective tax than Governor Romney pays in his federal income tax.
But Ryan said the Obama administration's failed the middle class.
We're going in the wrong direction. Look at where we are. The economy is barely limping along.
Side by side at the same table, Biden and Ryan were not shy about directly engaging each other, sometimes with harsh attacks, sometimes with humor.
I think the vice president very well knows that sometimes the words don't come out of your mouth the right way.
But I always say what I mean.
With the polls tightening, the president needs to fire up his Democratic base, while Romney needs to try and convert 2008 Obama voters. And Rob and Paula, last night here in Kentucky, both of them got a lot of help from their running mates.
All right, Karen, can we say that there was a winner? Can we call it a draw? I was looking at several polls. Three gave it to Paul Ryan, 3 gave it to Joe Biden. Was there a winner, or was this a tie?
Yeah, Paula, those instant reactions were showing that voters were very evenly split. But I think if you have to pick who really got what they wanted to get out of this debate, it was Vice President Biden. The Democrats are very happy because he basically stopped the bleeding from last week's, the president's performance at last week's debate. He did 2 things very well. One, he promoted the president's policies and defended the president's record, and did it by connecting with voters. And that's not something that President Obama was able to do last week. He also came out very aggressively against the Romney policies by going after Paul Ryan very strongly. That's also something we didn't see last week from President Obama. But Congressman Ryan really held his own tonight, so I think they both did a very effective job. Of course, as I said earlier, both sides are claiming victory, but this is really setting up a narrative going into next week's debate between the president and Mitt Romney.
So I think draw probably is the best word, Karen. Do you think, from your perspective, this changes the race in any significant way, or is this kind of a footnote?
Yeah, it's unlikely it's going to shake up this race in any major way, because vice presidential debates don't usually do that. Remember, this is really all about the person at the top of the ticket, President Obama and Mitt Romney. But what this does do is give Democrats a little bit more of a bounce in their step. There were some very nervous Democrats over the last week who were just so despondent over the president's performance. They didn't want to have to come out tonight and see Vice President Biden lose. They would be 0 for 2, and there are only 4 debates, 3 weeks left to the election. They did not want to have to be spinning over the next 4 days why they haven't been able to effectively promote their message. This certainly sets up President Obama into next week's debate. This gives him a little bit more momentum and effectively stops whatever maybe Mitt Romney had coming out of last week's debate.
Right.
All right, ABC's Karen Travers live for us there in Kentucky. Thank you, Karen. Appreciate it. Fascinating night, I thought. I mean, I think Karen may hit two good points. That on the plus side, Paul Ryan definitely stood his own against someone who has, 40 years experience in government. On the other hand, I think folks who support Obama saw in Joe Biden an aggressiveness and a passion and a defense of the administration that she did not get from the president, not nearly as vigorous a one last week. So in that sense, it is a draw. I think they both kind of did what they had to do. And again, it all comes back down to Tuesday night, and that really is going to be probably the clutch debate.
And Tuesday is the second presidential debate that's going to be held at Hofstra University, moderated by another woman, Candy Crowley of CNN. It'll be a town hall style, including foreign policy. I just was in what struck me is that it's really split. I think they both appealed to their base. From some polls, a lot of the women were turned off by the interrupting and laughing Joe Biden, but a lot of people calling for more substance, a little bit more explanation from Paul Ryan.
And on the other side, you have to wonder if the women were turned off by to me, it was the most tense question of the night, and that was the one about the role with religion and abortion, because, clearly Paul Ryan made it clear that he is pro-life, and Joe gave a very nuanced answer, I thought, and said, look, in my personal life, yes, I accept the Catholic Church's teachings on this, but I'm not going to impose that on anybody else. And I was watching a network where they do the kind of the polling, the kind of instant response from undecided voters, and Joe Biden's remarks got very high approval ratings when he said that. So, an interesting debate all the way around. So, stage is set for Tuesday.
Yep, and the Veep debate is the topic of this morning's Facebook question. We want to know who you thought won the debate. You can weigh in at WNNFans.com.